I I knew something was wrong the moment the rocks started whispering. Not wind, not shifting gravel. Whispering. A soft grinding, like boulders pushed across glass. I froze, one boot dangling over the dark drop of the trail. My wife, Lena, nearly bumped into me. "Evan, what is that?" I didn't know, but I knew it wasn't wind. 1 hour earlier, things couldn't have felt more normal, beautiful, even. Honeymoon normal, Maui normal. Haleakalā National Park looked like something printed on a postcard. Red cinder cones, a crater so big it felt like the planet had been hollowed out, and the sky so clear you could almost see the curve of the earth. We were supposed to take a simple hike, sunset on the crater rim, dinner back at the cabin, maybe stargazing. It was supposed to be peaceful, romantic, easy. But somewhere between the sliding sands trail and a junction with no sign, we'd taken a narrow spur path, something carved by time and erosion more than actual hikers. It dipped into tall brush, overgrown, half-hidden. "Let's see where it goes," Lena had said. She squeezed my hand, smiling, and I, like an idiot, followed. Now the sun was gone. Blue twilight bled into black, and the sound, the grinding, the shifting, echoed somewhere behind us, deeper in the thick brush we'd forced ourselves through. "I think it's just rocks cooling," I whispered. Lena shot me a look. "Rocks don't cool like they're talking." We kept moving, trying to retrace our steps, but the overgrown trail had swallowed the way we'd come. Branches closed behind us like a throat tightening. Every direction looked the same. Every turn led to thicker shadows. I tried using my phone for GPS. No service, no signal, just emptiness. Then the sound came again. A slow, deep scrape, like two massive stones twisting against each other. My chest tightened. Lena grabbed my arm, nails digging in. "Something's out there." I opened my mouth to tell her that was impossible. This was a volcanic desert, not a forest filled with animals. But the sound came again, closer this time, like a breath made of stone. My throat went dry. Then through the dense brush, a flicker, orange, then red, then white hot. A light, moving. At first I thought it was someone with a lantern, a ranger maybe, another hiker. But the sway wasn't right. It moved like a heartbeat pulsing through fog, like flame fighting to stay alive against the wind. Then another light appeared beside it, and another. No, not lights. Eyes, glowing molten eyes peering at us through the brush, slowly blinking, each blink a strobe of red fire. "Evan," Lena whispered, "what do we do?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because as the brush parted, I saw it. A shape, a body. But not flesh, not bone. It stepped forward with the weight of a mountain. Its limbs were made of basalt plates, jagged and fused, each crack in its body glowing with moving lava that flowed like veins. Fire dripped from its fingertips and hissed against the cold volcanic sand. And behind it, deeper in the dark, more molten eyes blinked awake. The grinding sound wasn't rocks shifting. It was them, and they were coming toward us. "We run," I said, but they didn't chase. They herded. Every time we tried to turn away from their glowing forms, one of them shifted to cut us off, forcing us deeper through the tunnel of brush toward the vast crater we'd glimpsed earlier from the ridge. The sky darkened. Stars emerged. The temperature dropped sharply. Still they followed, silent except for the grinding of stone on stone. I didn't know what they wanted, but I knew what every instinct in my body screamed. They were pushing us towards something, and I wasn't sure we wanted to know what. The brush finally thinned, but not in a way that felt like escape. It felt like emergence. Lena stumbled out first, gasping as she broke through the tangled branches. I followed, panting, swiping twigs from my hair. And then we both froze. Before us yawned the Haleakalā crater, a massive open bowl of red earth and black cinder stretching for miles under the night sky. Moonlight draped the landscape in ghostly silver. The air was thin, brittle, and impossibly cold. Behind us, still in the brush, the fire beings paused, not pursuing, not hiding, watching. Their molten eyes blinked in uneven rhythms, like embers breathing. Lava pulsed slowly through the cracks in their stone bodies, the glow rising and falling like an underground heartbeat. "What the hell are they?" I whispered. Lena grabbed my sleeve. "Evan, look." She pointed to the rise to our left, a ridge that curved down into a sprawling field of volcanic sand. Wind funneled through the crater, carrying a smell like hot metal and scorched earth. And etched into the slope, barely visible unless the moon hit at just the right angle, were tracks. Huge ones, the size of bathtubs, long, drag-like impressions carved in the cinder, leading toward the far side of the crater. But it wasn't just their size that made my skin crawl. It was the heat radiating from them. I slowly extended my hand toward one of the impressions. The air above it shimmered like a mirage. "Whatever made that," Lena whispered, "is still hot." I swallowed hard. We need to get out of here. Now. But where? The crater's open bowl looked like the surface of Mars. No vegetation, no shelter, no clear way back to the path. And behind us, the fire beings shifted, subtle but deliberate, blocking the brush tunnel we'd been pushed through. "Evan," Lena's voice trembled. "They won't let us go back." They wouldn't. They didn't need to speak for us to understand. Each time we stepped one direction, one of them angled its burning torso just enough to direct us elsewhere. Forward, always forward, toward the crater. The grinding sound began again, low, rhythmic, almost like chanting. Stone against stone, a language made of pressure and heat. It reverberated through the ground, through my bones. "We're being herded," I said, "like cattle." "But why? Toward what?" I didn't want to answer, because deep down, beneath the fear, the confusion, the cold, I already suspected. But I pushed the thought away. "Let's move," I said. "Stay on the firmer sand. Don't go into the deep powder." We skirted down the slope, our boots sinking a little with every step. The crater floor felt unreal, like walking across the cooled skin of a planet still burning underneath. Occasionally, the wind carried a faint hiss, as if somewhere below the surface magma shifted. Behind us, the beings followed in a half-circle formation, leaving the bushes far behind. In the moonlight, I finally saw one clearly. Its face, or what passed for one, was a stacked arrangement of black basalt plates, forming a vague humanoid symmetry. Cracks between the plates glowed molten orange. There was no mouth, no nose, just two narrow slits for eyes, each one a white-hot furnace. Its chest was cracked open, revealing a slow churn of lava that rose and fell in a steady cycle. A heartbeat, a molten, volcanic heartbeat. Lena whispered, "They're alive." "More than alive," I murmured. We trudged deeper into the crater basin, the air growing colder even as heat pulsed from the ground. The beings maintained distance, never closer than 30 feet, but they didn't stop watching, didn't stop guiding. The tracks ahead grew more chaotic, more frequent, some so fresh they glowed faintly at the edges. "Evan," Lena said, voice soft and breaking, "I don't think we're being hunted." I turned to her, confused. She shook her head, tears welling. "I think we're being delivered." Cold washed over me. Not the wind, not the altitude. Fear. Pure, ancient fear. Delivered. To what? The crater opened wider the farther we walked. The summit towered above us, its ridges serrated against the stars. The moon cast the floor in long shadows. Then, somewhere out in the center of that vast emptiness, a sound rose. Not grinding, not chanting. Breathing. Slow. Massive. Like the inhales of something sleeping just beneath the surface of the earth. I felt it in my chest, a pressure, a vibration. Lena gripped my hand so tight it went numb. "Evan," she whispered, her voice cracking, "whatever made those tracks, it's here." And for the first time since we entered the crater, one of the fire beings stepped closer. Not to herd, not to block, but to look at us. The basalt plates shifted. Lava welled brighter between the gaps. The heat pushed against us, hot enough to singe the tips of my arm hair. It raised one arm slowly, deliberately, and pointed toward the center of the crater. The message was clear. Keep walking. Whether we wanted to or not, the next 100 yards felt like walking into the throat of something alive. The basin widened until the world seemed to fall away, leaving us in a vast red emptiness under a sky frozen with stars. The moon drifted behind a high cloud, dimming the crater into something even more alien. Shadows soft, horizon erased, depth impossible to judge. If Haleakalā looked like Mars by day, at night it looked like the surface of a dead star. But it wasn't dead. The ground pulsed. Subtle at first, small tremors rolling under our boots like the planet was breathing beneath a thin crust of rock. Every few minutes, a hush of heat whispered upward through cracks in the stone, brushing our faces with warmth that didn't match the freezing air. Lena clutched my forearm. "We need to stop. Evan, we can't keep going toward that." I didn't disagree. Everything inside me screamed to run back toward the ridge, back toward the overgrown path, even back toward the fire beings, to anywhere except the center of this endless bowl. But when we turned, the beings moved, not fast, not aggressively, just enough to block the way. A semicircle of molten eyes stared at us, unblinking, patient as stone. The cracks across their basalt skin brightened with slow exhalations of lava. They didn't need weapons. Their bodies were weapons. "We're not getting past them," I whispered. "We can't go forward either," Lena cried. "What's out there? What are they pushing us to?" As if answering her, the ground hummed again, this time longer, deeper, a vibration that rattled the back of my teeth. Then came the sound, the one I'd been trying not to name. Hum. A slow subterranean inhale that traveled through the earth like a wave. A breath. Not wind, not shifting stone. A breath. "What the hell is breathing out here?" Lena whispered. I didn't know, but the fire beings seemed to. Their molten eyes flickered in unison, turning toward the center of the crater like worshippers toward an altar. A warning curled in my spine. Or maybe it was understanding. "These things," I murmured, my voice trembling. "They're not trying to kill us." Lena shook her head violently. No, Evan, don't say it. "They're caretakers. Silence followed, thick and sharp. Caretakers of what? Ahead, the tracks we'd been following converged, huge, dragging trenches carved into the sand. Some were old, filled with cooled ash. Others were so fresh they glowed faintly red at the edges, shimmering like fresh wounds. Whatever made them was impossibly heavy, impossibly large. I knelt beside one of the impressions, hovering my hand above it. The heat radiating upwards was painful, like an oven door opened centimeters from my skin. "It's close," I whispered. Lena crouched down beside me, her breath catching. "Do you hear that?" I listened. At first, nothing. Then, soft, rhythmic tapping beneath the crust, like knuckles drumming on a hollow table. No, not tapping. Cracking. The crust of the crater floor shifted under our boots, small fissures spiderwebbing outward like lightning frozen in stone. Behind us, the fire beings moved again, tightening their semicircle, cutting off any hope of retreat. One of them planted its massive basalt arm into the sand, molten cracks brightening across its torso. Its posture wasn't threatening. It was bracing, preparing. The ground split open 20 feet ahead. A thin line at first, just a dark seam like the planet had been stitched closed and the thread pulled free. Heat surged upward, rolling over us in a choking wave. Lena shielded her face. My eyes watered instantly. Then the seam widened with a violent crack, splitting the crater floor like a zipper being torn open. Ash spun into the air. Pebbles jumped. The sand beneath us trembled so hard we stumbled, and then the light came. A deep, blinding red glow poured from the fissure, so bright and pure it painted the fire beings in silhouettes. Embers lifted on columns of heat. The air wavered, shimmering like we were looking through boiling water. Something rose, slowly, deliberately. A stone pushed upward first, smooth, round, the size of a car tire. Then another beside it, both glowing from within. They weren't stones, they were eyes. Eyes the size of boulders, each one swirling with molten magma, each blink slow enough to feel like a shifting geological event. Lena screamed. I wasn't far behind. The fissure widened further, revealing a massive shape beneath the crust, a body layered in basalt armor, each plate churning with fire the way a glacier churns with ice. Lava streamed between its plates like blood, illuminating a ribcage that spanned 20 feet across. This thing wasn't a creature, it was a volcano given form. A titan born from Haleakala's molten heart. Its head, broad and crowned with jagged horns of cooled obsidian, rose through the opening. The air around it burned. Each breath it exhaled sent a wave of blistering heat rolling across the crater. The fire beings knelt. They dropped to one knee, every single one, bowing their glowing heads toward the colossal form rising before us. "Oh God," Lena sobbed. "Evan, why us?" The Titan's massive eyes focused on us. The ground shook as it inhaled, and in that rumbling, tectonic breath I understood. They weren't bringing us to it. They were feeding it. We weren't lost hikers. We were an offering. And the thing beneath the crater had only just awakened. The Titan exhaled, and the world became fire. Heat blasted across the crater floor in a rolling wave that knocked us backward. Lena hit the sand hard, coughing. I threw myself over her as the gust seared the back of my neck. It wasn't the heat of a campfire, or even a lava flow. It was the heat of creation, the heat of a world still forming. The fissure widened further, slow, grinding, inevitable. Each movement cracked open more of the crater floor, sending thin rivers of molten rock trickling outward. The air shimmered in waves. The night sky above us blurred from the rising temperature. The Titan, whatever ancient, impossible thing it was, rose another few feet, enough for a shoulder to breach the surface. Its body was a fortress of basalt plates, shifting and reconfiguring as though the mountain itself were breathing. The fire beings knelt lower, their molten eyes dimmed in reverence. We were not meant to run. We were meant to kneel. But I couldn't move, because those massive, magna-filled eyes were locked on us. "We have to go," I hissed, dragging Lena to her feet. "There's nowhere," she sobbed, gesturing wildly. "Evan, there's nowhere." She was right. The crater was a bowl of sand and cinder stretching for miles, the only exit behind us, blocked by fire beings glowing hot enough to melt bone. But movement caught my eye. Not behind us, above us. Across the vast red slopes of Haleakala's summit, far up the ridges that encircled the crater, the earth was shifting. At first I thought it was just heat distortion, the atmosphere warping from the volcano's awakening. But no, shapes were emerging. Tall, thin, humanoid silhouettes the size of buildings. Not molten like the fire beings, not basalt and lava. These were obsidian black, smooth, glass-like forms that shone in the moonlight. Silent giants, each one as tall as a radio tower, stepping slowly along the crater rim with echoing, thunderous strides. They weren't coming for us. They were taking positions, encircling the crater, guarding the perimeter, as if this place was a ritual ground, an arena, a feeding floor. Lena clutched my hand so hard I thought she might break it. "Evan, this is ancient. They've done this before, hundreds of times, thousands, for as long as the mountain had been alive." The Titan inhaled again, slow, massive, the sound of continents splitting. The heat forced us to our knees. My skin felt like it was blistering. Lena screamed as the air dried her throat raw. A command rippled across the crater. The fire beings rose from their kneel and spread out, not toward us, but to carve a wide, circular boundary around the Titan. Each one planted its molten hands in the sand, forming a ring of glowing bodies, keeping us in, keeping everything else out. A ritual circle. The Titan leaned forward, plates grinding, sending showers of sparks raining down the fissure. Its eyes narrowed. "Evan," Lena whispered, her voice barely audible. "Why us?" The answer came unbidden. We wandered off the path. And in this place, in a park sacred to Pele, the goddess of volcano and fire, that meant something. It meant we'd entered where we weren't allowed, where only offerings went. The terrible realization twisted in my gut. Maybe the fire beings weren't hunting us because they were predators. Maybe they were protectors, ensuring the ritual was performed properly, ensuring the Titan was fed what it demanded, ensuring the mountain stayed asleep for all the centuries to come. "Lena, we can't stay here." "How, Evan? How?" I scanned the crater desperately. The titanic creature was still rising, but slowly. So slowly. Its full weight had yet to pull free of the Earth's crust. Each movement was a geological event. That slowness was our only chance. "While it's moving," I said, "it can't pursue. We run. Now." "No," Lena said, shaking her head violently. "They'll stop us." She was right again. The fire beings stood sentry, still forming a circle, but the obsidian giants on the rim, they weren't here for us. They were guardians of the perimeter, not the floor. If we could make it far enough before any of them reacted, I squeezed her hand. "We run on my mark, downwind, into the ash dunes." "The ash, Evan, will sink." "Better than being burned." The Titan inhaled again, a long, deep breath that dragged cinder dust towards its chest like the pull of a black hole. The fire beings bowed their heads. Everything was focused on the Titan. This was our only opening. "Now!" I shouted. We sprinted, legs pumping, lungs screaming, sand shifting beneath us as we tore across the crater floor. Behind us, the Titan bellowed a low tectonic moan. The ground trembled. A wave of heat slammed into our backs. Lena stumbled, caught herself, and kept running. I dared a glance over my shoulder.
The fire beings reacted, but not immediately. They turned their heads first, confused, almost unsure. We weren't the ritual. We weren't behaving correctly. Then, a roar. Not from the Titan, from one of the obsidian giants on the rim. It stepped forward, shaking the crater with each stride. They would pursue. They would stop us. Because if the Titan wasn't fed, something far worse might awaken. "Faster!" I screamed. The ash dunes rose ahead, rolling black hills of volcanic dust that swallowed everything, sound and light alike. If we reached them, we could hide. We could vent. A shadow fell over us. Enormous. Unnatural. Impossible to outrun. The obsidian giant had reached the crater floor. And it was reaching for us. The obsidian giant's hand hit the ground beside us with a boom that blew sand into the air like an explosion. Lena screamed as shards of volcanic glass sprayed past, some slicing thin, stinging cuts into her arms. The hand itself was smooth, dark, reflective, like polished midnight given shape, and larger than a truck bed. Its fingers curled, reaching, searching, herding us back toward the Titan. "No! No!" I yelled, pulling Lena sideways. We dove behind a slope of ash. The dune collapsed under our weight, sending us sliding down the loose granules. The ash coated our tongues, burned our throats, filled our boots. It was like trying to swim through ground bone. Above, the obsidian giant shifted, its weight alone making the dune tremble. It crouched, examining the disturbed ash with slow, deliberate motions. The moonlight caught its glassy surface and fractured, scattering light like stars trapped in stone. "Heaven," Lena gasped. "It sees us. Keep moving." We scrambled up the opposite side of the dune, hands plunging deep with every grab. Each second felt stolen. Each breath tasted scorched and metallic. Behind us, the giant straightened and let out a groaning grunt, deep, resonant, like a whale calling from the depths of the earth. More shadows moved on the crater rim. The others had heard. They were coming. But ahead, the dunes thickened into a labyrinth, ridges and bowls, hollows and crests, a maze of volcanic dust that swallowed sound and shape. Perfect for hiding, if we could reach deep enough. We slid down another slope, the ash swallowing us to the shins. "Where is the trail?" Lena choked out. "It has to lead back up the far ridge," I said, though I wasn't sure. Nothing here looked like the Haleakalā we'd seen on the map. This place wasn't meant for hikers. It wasn't meant for people at all. A quake rolled through the ground, violent, pulsing. We fell to our knees as a shockwave rippled beneath the ash. The Titan was moving again. I peeked over the dune's crest. What I saw hollowed me out. The enormous creature had risen fully from its fissure, an unimaginable mass of stone plates and molten light towering dozens of feet high. Lava poured between its ribs. Its arms, thick as boulders, clawed their way free of the earth with slow, grinding precision. It wasn't walking. It was emerging. The entire mountain seemed to strain as it pulled loose. The fire beings circled it, hands raised, lava coursing through their cracks with ritualistic rhythm. And the obsidian giants, 6 now, converged on the crater floor. One pointed, right at us. "Down!" I hissed. We slid into a pocket of ash just as a blast of heat screamed overhead, superheating the air so quickly the moisture on our skin evaporated in an instant. "Evan," Lena whispered shakily, "we can't outrun them." "No, but maybe we don't have to outrun all of them." She frowned through tears. "What does that mean?" I pointed toward the rim on the far side. The ground there wasn't dunes, it was jagged lava rock, treacherous, sharp. Solid enough to climb, the obsidian giants, massive, heavy, moved slower there. Their steps broke through the crust, catching in jagged openings. "The rocks," I said. "We head for the rocks. The dunes slow us, but they slow them worse." Lena nodded, desperate, terrified, but trusting. We ran. The dunes swallowed each step, stealing momentum, dragging at our ankles. Behind us, the giant waded through the ash like a boat through waves, faster than before, knees driving deep, black glass limbs gleaming with reflected moonlight. "Almost there," I yelled. The dunes thinned, the ground hardened. A ridge of sharp volcanic slabs jutted out like broken teeth. We climbed, hands slipping, footing uncertain but gaining elevation. A thunderous sound shook the crater. The obsidian giant tried climbing after us and slipped. Its weight shattered the brittle crust. It crashed down, smashing through layers of cooled lava and ash, its arm buried to the elbow. The thing writhed, struggling to free itself. Another giant approached, but slow. Too slow. "We're doing it!" Lena shouted. Then the titan roared. The sound tore through the night with the force of an eruption. We clamped our hands to our ears as the ridge vibrated beneath us. The titan's molten eyes scanned the crater until they locked on our scrambling forms. A deep pulse rippled across the crater floor. No, not a pulse. A summoning. The fire beings reacted instantly, rushing toward us with shaking ground and bursts of lava dripping between their cracks. "Keep going!" I yelled. We scaled the final row of jagged stone. Lena crested the top and reached for me. A fire being grasped the rock below, its molten arms stretching upward. Its fingers were so hot the stone hissed and began to crack. I pulled myself higher. The arm lunged again, grabbing for my boot, but the stone beneath it fractured. The entire ledge broke free, taking the fire being with it. It crashed down the slope in an avalanche of sand and rock, glowing like a falling meteor. We reached the rim. Cold wind hit our faces, sharp and real. The normal world, the world of stars and air and silence. "We made it," Lena choked, but I had to look. Below, far below, the titan withdrew back into the fissure. The ritual ruined. The fire beings howled, their molten bodies dimming in confusion. The obsidian giants retreated toward the rim, but none crossed it. They would not leave the crater. This was their domain, their ritual ground, their ancient rule, and we had escaped it by inches. We didn't speak as we stumbled back onto the maintained trail. We didn't stop until the visitor center lights appeared in the distance like a miracle in the dark. Only then did Lena whisper, "Evan, what happens now?" I didn't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Because as we reached the parking lot, breathless and shaking, I looked back one last time at the crater. And far, far in the distance, deep in the dark bowl of the summit, a single molten eye blinked open, watching us, remembering us, waiting for the next offering to wander off the path. If you ever visit Haleakalā, stay on the trail. Don't wander into the brush. And if you hear rocks grinding together in the dark, run. Don't wait to see what's waking beneath the crater. Thank you for listening to tonight's story.
If you enjoyed this tale of volcanic terror, please take a second to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you don't miss the next nightmare waiting in the dark. And if you've ever had your own strange experience in a national park or somewhere you can't explain, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay curious, and remember, some trails don't want you to come back.